Yeah, somebody else, and I forgot.
You're a liar! You're a filthy fucking no-go liar! You didn't have the guts to tell me the truth!
They called it just another teen romance, until it became the blueprint for 1980s high school drama. Pretty in Pink wasn't just about prom dresses and heartbreak. It was messy, chaotic, and full of behind-the-scenes turmoil. Studio tensions, casting dilemmas, creative clashes that nearly rewrote the ending audiences fell in love with.
I can't believe you'd be this stupid.
Shitting on me. I'm not gonna let anybody shit on me.
He's gonna use your ass.
What seemed like a charming teen story on screen was fueled by awkward auditions, costume controversies, and conflicts over music, tone, and character arcs. How close did Molly Ringwald come to walking away? Which iconic scenes were almost cut or completely improvised? And what secrets about the making of Pretty in Pink have stayed buried for decades? Get ready to uncover 20 things about Pretty in Pink they never revealed. Drama, surprises, and behind-the-scenes chaos you won't believe. Hidden fact. 1. Molly Ringwald almost didn't play Andy. Before she became the face of Pretty in Pink, Molly Ringwald's casting was anything but guaranteed. Studios worried she was too associated with her brat pack image to convincingly play an outsider navigating love and social cliques. Another actress was even considered, a rising star who reportedly had a more angsty look, but John Hughes refused. He insisted Ringwald had the perfect balance of vulnerability, wit, and teen rebellion. Rumors on set said Ringwald had to prove herself during a private reading, where her emotional delivery reportedly moved producers to tears. Imagine a world where Andy wasn't Molly Ringwald, where the girl in pink wasn't ringing every heartstring in the theater. That almost happened reality would have completely reshaped the film's legacy.
Andy!
Andy?
Molly Ringwald almost didn't play Andy. One wrong choice, and Pretty in Pink would have been unrecognizable. Hidden fact. 2. The original ending was a nightmare. Pretty in Pink didn't always have a happy ending. In the original draft, Andy ends up alone, rejected by Blaine, with Ducky fading quietly into the background. Test audiences hated it. Their boos, groans, and complaints forced the studio to demand a rewrite. But even that wasn't simple. The team scrambled, balancing heartbreak and triumph while keeping Hughes's satirical take on high school hierarchy intact. That last-minute rewrite created the ending we now celebrate. Andy standing up for herself, and love prevailing. Without it, Pretty in Pink might have been remembered as a cruel, melancholic teen drama, rather than a defining 80s classic.
What you want?
You know you're talking like that just because I'm going out with Blaine.
Blaine? His name is Blaine? Oh.
The original Pretty in Pink ending was heartbreak, not happily ever after. Test audiences demanded a rewrite, giving us the iconic finale we love today. Hidden fact. 3. Ducky's character was nearly cut. John Cryer's Ducky was supposed to be a minor side character, comic relief with a few punchlines. But Cryer's performance was electric. His awkward charm, heartfelt loyalty, and oddly fashion-forward outfits made producers rethink his role. Some argued the character distracted from Andy's romance, while others feared he might upstage the leads. Yet Hughes recognized the magic and expanded Ducky's scenes, adding emotional depth and humor. Without Cryer's persistence and Ducky's quirks, the love triangle that defines Pretty in Pink might have collapsed entirely. Fans today can hardly imagine the story without Ducky's heartfelt wait for me moments. Moments that almost never existed.
Oh, Andy, I'm having a bad day. Can we talk later?
No. What about prom?
Come on, why don't we just meet after school?
No! What about prom?
Andy, come on.
Just say it.
What?
Just say it. I want
John Cryer's Ducky nearly stayed minor, but his charm forced Hughes to expand the role, turning comic relief into an unforgettable heart of Pretty in Pink. Hidden fact: 4. The Breakfast Club connection You Missed Pretty in Pink shares more than just a director with The Breakfast Club. It contains subtle, almost hidden references. Several extras were recycled from Hughes's previous films, creating an unintentional universe of recurring high school faces. Even some set designs and dialogue echoes were deliberately mirrored, as Hughes loved his connected teen worlds. Observant fans notice glimpses of familiar lockers, hallway arrangements, and extras who pop up in both movies. While not a full-blown crossover, these Easter eggs give Pretty in Pink a hidden depth, rewarding viewers who track Hughes's teen narratives. It's subtle, almost invisible, but it reveals the filmmaker's obsession with crafting a connected, living high school universe.
So when you get your heart splattered all over hell and you're feeling really low and dirty, don't look to me to help pump you back up, because
Pretty in Pink quietly links to Hughes's teen universe, dropping Easter eggs and familiar faces that reward eagle-eyed fans with a hidden high school world. Hidden fact 5. John Cryer's iconic hair. Almost backfired, Ducky's larger-than-life hairstyle is one of the most memorable visual trademarks of Pretty in Pink, but it wasn't an automatic success. Early tests showed John Cryer's teased hair looked cartoonish, unconvincing, and even distracting on camera. The makeup and hair team argued over whether to tone it down, fearing audiences might laugh for the wrong reasons. Cryer fought to keep the exaggerated look, insisting it was essential to Ducky's awkward, endearing personality. Hughes sided with him, and the final result became iconic, a visual shorthand for teenage eccentricity, loyalty, and unrequited love. Without that towering mop of curls, Ducky might have faded into the background, and the character's cultural impact would have been drastically reduced. The hair wasn't just style, it was storytelling.
all right.
Ducky's towering hair almost didn't survive test screenings, but Cryer's insistence turned it into an iconic symbol of awkward teen charm and unforgettable style. Hidden fact 6. Andy's wardrobe secret. Andy's wardrobe wasn't just thrift store chic, it was meticulously planned to reflect her personality. Costume designer Marilyn Vance intentionally mixed vintage pieces with bold, bright colors to show Andy's individuality against the wealthy, polished world of Blaine and his friends. Each outfit symbolized her rebellion and creativity, from patched sweaters to statement accessories. Some pieces were even hand-altered by Vance herself to highlight Andy's resourcefulness. Audiences may have assumed the eclectic style was improvised, but it was a carefully coded visual narrative. That attention to costume detail made Andy instantly relatable and iconic, a teenager defining herself not by wealth, but by ingenuity and flair. Without these choices, the character's subtle power and charm might have been lost entirely.
Yo, man, next time I'll kick your ass. That'll be that. I'm just kidding.
Andy's thrifted looks weren't just fashion. They were a visual manifesto of individuality, turning her into a style icon who defined rebellion and resourcefulness. Hidden fact 7. Blaine's actor almost quit. Andrew McCarthy, who played Blaine, nearly walked away from Pretty in Pink. Early in filming, he struggled with the emotional demands of the role, fearing he couldn't convincingly portray the conflicted rich boy torn between social status and true feelings for Andy. Reports say Hughes personally convinced McCarthy to stay, promising to guide him through the nuanced performance. McCarthy's persistence paid off. The vulnerability and charm he brought to Blaine elevated the romance to heart-stopping levels. Without his commitment, the love story central to Pretty in Pink might have fallen flat, leaving Andy's choices feeling less impactful and emotionally resonant. Andrew McCarthy almost quit, but sticking it out gave Blaine the charm and depth that made Pretty in Pink's romance unforgettable. Hidden fact. 8. The prom scene was nearly censored. The climactic prom scene was almost censored for its bold depiction of teenage rebellion. The studio worried about alcohol references, suggestive dancing, and Andy's defiance of social hierarchy. Hughes fought to keep the scene intact, insisting it captured the essence of teen individuality and the consequences of conformity. Extras recalled tension on set as security and production staff debated lighting, choreography, and dialogue. Even minor props, like punch bowls and decorations, were scrutinized for acceptability. In the end, the scene survived, iconic and unflinching, becoming a touchstone for 80s teen cinema. If it had been watered down, Pretty in Pink's message about standing out and staying true to yourself might have been irreparably weakened. The prom scene survived censorship battles, cementing Pretty in Pink as a bold anthem of teen rebellion and individuality. Hidden fact 9. Ducky's original love interest. Initially, Ducky was supposed to have a minor, almost unnoticeable crush on Andy, something comedic and fleeting. Early drafts had him pairing with another character entirely, limiting his screen time. But John Cryer's performance convinced Hughes and the writers to elevate Ducky's role, turning him into Andy's loyal, emotional anchor and adding tension to the central love triangle. That change wasn't just creative. It fundamentally shaped the story's emotional stakes. Fans often forget how near the film came to downplaying Ducky's devotion, which might have robbed Pretty in Pink of one of its most enduring and heartfelt dynamics.
I want all the gory details, the mingling breath, the pounding heart, the...
Ducky's role was nearly cut back, but Cryer's charm transformed him into the emotional heart of Pretty in Pink, making the love triangle unforgettable. Hidden fact. 10. The soundtrack almost lost its edge. Pretty in Pink's soundtrack, featuring hits from the Psychedelic Furs and OMD, almost lost its rebellious edge. Early negotiations with record labels and the studio threatened to replace more alternative tracks with mainstream pop to appeal to a wider audience. Hughes fought to maintain the authenticity of the teen experience, insisting the music capture the angst, energy, and outsider perspective of his characters. The final soundtrack, from If You Leave to Pretty in Pink, became inseparable from the film itself, defining the emotional beats of love, heartbreak, and teenage identity. Without that fight, the movie might have felt generic or overly sanitized, losing the raw 80s teenage spirit that still resonates decades later. The music wasn't just background, it was another character in the story, carrying the emotional weight of every pivotal scene.
You got doors on the stalls. They're not stuffed. Wait a minute. We don't have none of this stuff in the boys.
The soundtrack nearly got sanitized, but Hughes's fight kept it raw and rebellious, turning Pretty in Pink's music into the emotional heartbeat of the film. Hidden fact. 11. Molly Ringwald's audition nightmare. Molly Ringwald almost didn't get the lead role of Andy. During auditions, she was reportedly nervous, fumbling lines, and unsure how to portray the perfect mix of vulnerability and defiance. Hughes saw potential, but worried if she could handle the emotional complexity. He pushed her through multiple callbacks, often improvising scenarios to test her reactions. Ringwald eventually nailed it, balancing teen angst with charm and wit. But those early shaky performances could have sent Pretty in Pink in a completely different direction. Without her breakthrough, the iconic heart and relatability of Andy might have been replaced by a less compelling protagonist, drastically altering the film's emotional resonance and legacy.
I mean, I'm old enough to be his mother, but when the duck laid that kiss on me last night, I swear to God,
Ringwald's early stumbles almost cost her the role, but her breakthrough made Andy unforgettable, proving one actor can define a film's heart and soul. Hidden fact. 12. The high school used was real pretty in Pink's high school wasn't a soundstage, it was a functioning high school. Filming took place during summer, but classrooms, hallways, and lockers had to be retrofitted for the 1980s aesthetic. Local students were occasionally recruited as extras, adding chaos and realism, but also logistical headaches. Teachers and staff had to be persuaded that a teen social drama was educationally appropriate. The decision to film in a real school paid off. The social dynamics, cafeteria chaos, and hallway tension feel lived in and authentic. That authenticity elevated Pretty in Pink above other teen films of the era, making the struggles and triumphs of Andy, Ducky, and Blaine feel tangible. Without the real-world backdrop, the story might have seemed staged or less emotionally engaging.
Late, you got school.
No, don't work out on this. Will you please just listen to me? Please?
I've already been through this, Andy.
Filming in a real school brought chaos, charm, and authenticity, turning Pretty in Pink into a living, breathing teen world audiences still connect with today. Hidden fact 13. Ducky's iconic dance moves. Jon Cryer didn't just act. He choreographed some of Ducky's most memorable dance moments. The quirky spins, flailing arms, and awkward kicks weren't scripted. Cryer improvised them during rehearsal, capturing Ducky's blend of enthusiasm and social awkwardness. Hughes loved the authenticity, keeping many takes that were far from polished. Those improvisations defined Ducky's endearing charm, making his prom dance both comedic and heartbreakingly sweet. It was a gamble. Some crew members worried the audience might cringe, but the risk paid off. Ducky's dance became one of the film's most iconic sequences, encapsulating the awkward, hopeful, and fiercely loyal spirit of teenage love. Without Cryer's creativity, Ducky could have been a forgettable sidekick rather than a beloved teen icon.
You know, I'm going to prom.
stop it!
Jon Cryer's improvised moves turned Ducky's prom dance into a legend, blending cringe, charm, and heart in a way only Pretty in Pink could pull off. Hidden fact 14. The script almost ended differently. Pretty in Pink nearly had a darker ending. Early drafts called for Andy to be completely rejected by Blaine, leaving her isolated and heartbroken. The studio pushed for a softer, more commercially appealing conclusion, fearing audiences wouldn't embrace the raw teen angst. Hughes reluctantly revised the ending, allowing Andy to confront societal hierarchies and find empowerment, while keeping her relationship with Blaine hopeful but not perfect. That delicate balance of heartbreak, triumph, and self-realization gave the film emotional depth. If the original ending had survived, Pretty in Pink might have been remembered as a cautionary tale of rejection rather than a nuanced, enduring celebration of individuality and resilience.
And your car was in the driveway.
Mm-hmm.
No, you didn't have to lie to me.
The darker original ending nearly rewrote Pretty in Pink as heartbreak central, but Hughes's rewrite gave Andy hope, making her triumph and the film itself truly unforgettable. Hidden fact 15. The Psychedelic Furs cameo. The Psychedelic Furs didn't just contribute the hit song Pretty in Pink. They nearly appeared on screen. Early plans called for the band to play during the prom sequence, adding authentic energy to the climax. Scheduling conflicts and budget constraints prevented their appearance, but the soundtrack carried the film's rebellious, romantic tone perfectly. Fans might not realize the movie almost blended diegetic and non-diegetic music to create a direct, in-the-moment performance. The absence of a live cameo allowed the music to take on a symbolic role, representing Andy's emotional journey rather than merely existing in the background. The Furs' involvement behind the scenes cemented the soundtrack as a character of its own, shaping Pretty in Pink's mood and emotional resonance.
I mean, I know the prom's kind of lame, so if you don't want to go, it's really no big deal.
The Psychedelic Furs nearly crashed the prom scene, but even off-screen, their music became the emotional heartbeat of Pretty in Pink, defining Andy's world forever. Hidden fact: 16. Andy's pink dress was custom-made. Andy's iconic pink prom dress wasn't off the rack. It was custom-designed by Marilyn Vance. Hughes and Vance debated every detail: the shade of pink, the lace, the silhouette. The goal was to reflect Andy's individuality, creativity, and emotional state. Ringwald tried on multiple prototypes, but the final design struck the perfect balance between vulnerability and bold self-expression. That single dress became a symbol of teenage courage and ingenuity, representing more than just a prom outfit. Fans still replicate it decades later, and the dress remains one of the most recognizable costumes in 1980s cinema. Without that meticulous design process, Andy's prom scene might have lacked the emotional and visual punch that makes it unforgettable.
Wouldn't be unheard of.
Andy's pink dress wasn't just fashion, it was a declaration, a visual anthem of individuality that turned a single prom moment into an enduring 80s icon. Hidden fact: 17. John Cryer almost didn't play. Ducky, John Cryer wasn't the first choice for Ducky. The role initially went to another actor who couldn't capture the awkward charm Hughes envisioned. Cryer auditioned late in the process and immediately embodied Ducky's sincerity, humor, and heartbreaking devotion. His improvisations, especially in dialogue and physical comedy, added layers that weren't in the script. If Cryer hadn't been cast, Ducky could have been a flat comic relief character instead of a fully realized, sympathetic figure. His performance became one of the film's emotional anchors, making the love triangle more poignant and the story's social commentary sharper. Pretty in Pink owes much of its heart and memorability to Cryer's perfect timing and emotional nuance.
I don't know, it's just too weird for me, you know? Maybe this shouldn't happen.
What, you and me?
John Cryer didn't just play Ducky, he transformed him, turning a near-forgotten side role into the heart and soul of Pretty in Pink. Hidden fact: 18. The soundtrack shaped the film. The Pretty in Pink soundtrack wasn't just background music, it dictated tone, pacing, and emotion. Songs like If You Leave by Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark became inseparable from Andy's journey. Hughes worked closely with music supervisors, selecting tracks that could convey longing, rebellion, and teenage anxiety without dialogue. Some songs were added late in post-production, completely transforming key scenes. The prom montage, for instance, gained emotional depth and tension because of the music's pacing. Audiences often remember the film's moments through the lens of its soundtrack, highlighting how integral music was to Pretty in Pink's storytelling. Without this careful curation, the movie might have felt tonally uneven or emotionally muted. The soundtrack didn't just score Pretty in Pink, it became its emotional heartbeat, shaping every scene and memory. Hidden fact: 19. Molly Ringwald wrote her own lines. Ringwald didn't just act, she shaped Andy's voice. On set, she improvised or suggested alternate dialogue, particularly in scenes with Ducky and Blaine. Hughes encouraged this, knowing Ringwald understood the character's nuances better than anyone. Some of Andy's most quotable lines, subtle retorts, and sarcastic quips weren't scripted. They came directly from Ringwald's instincts. This collaborative energy added realism and wit, making Andy feel like a fully realized teenager rather than a constructed character. Without Ringwald's input, the dialogue could have been less authentic, reducing the film's charm, relatability, and enduring quotability.
So, what's the deal? You going out this weekend?
I don't know. I'm not sure yet.
Why? What are you gonna do?
Molly Ringwald didn't just play Andy. She gave her a voice, wit, and heart that made Pretty in Pink unforgettable. Hidden fact: 20. The original ending test audiences hated. The final cut of Pretty in Pink wasn't the first test audiences saw. Early screenings used the original ending, where Andy ends the film alone, rejected by Blaine. Audiences reacted negatively, calling it depressing and unsatisfying. Hughes and the studio scrambled, reshooting the ending to provide a more hopeful resolution without sacrificing emotional realism. That revised ending struck the balance between heartbreak and optimism, allowing Pretty in Pink to become a teen classic. It proved that audience feedback could reshape cinematic history, turning a potentially bleak conclusion into a universally celebrated finale. The final scene, with Andy in her pink dress walking with Ducky and reconciling emotions with Blaine, became iconic precisely because it survived the test of criticism. The original bleak ending almost doomed Pretty in Pink, but a timely reshoot turned heartbreak into iconic teen triumph. Pretty in Pink wasn't just a teen romance, it was a masterclass in rebellion, style, and emotional truth. Behind the thrift store outfits and prom night drama were hidden battles, casting near misses, last-minute rewrites, soundtrack controversies, and character choices that could have changed everything. If this peek behind the curtain gave you a new perspective on Pretty in Pink, share your favorite hidden fact in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more untold stories from cinema's most iconic classics. Some truths about teen heartbreak and triumph are too vivid to stay in the shadows.